Hello, brilliantly sensitive ones. Welcome to the second highly sensitive, wildly successful conversation of today. It's been a beautiful day of connection so far. And right now, I am so excited to get to introduce to you Darla LeDoux. Darla LeDoux is a recovering engineer turned transformation magician. And she helps service-based entrepreneurs to market, sell, and deliver their transformational work. And she's certainly helped me do that over the years. I think the first time I worked with you was 2015.
Where does time go?
Where does it go? That's a whole other conversation we could have. But I actually still have here, right in front of my desk, this amazing placard that you sent to us. Do you remember this? It's old branding.
Yeah, of course.
It's still so potent.
Wicked smart, yes.
Yes.
I love reading these.
It was a year-long program called Amplify. Be more you, make more money. And I remember when we each finished, you asked everyone on the course to share descriptive words that they felt summed us up. And then you created this beautiful placard, and I have it. I have it still here. And Darla's also been the instigator of many adventures. You know, I was chatting with a fellow business buddy the other day about how, honestly, one of the best things about being self-employed and in business, possibly less so at the moment, but you know, things will change again, is the opportunities to travel to different countries, to meet different people, to go on adventures because you have a training in a specific place in the world. Yes. And then you're suddenly somewhere where you might not have consciously chosen otherwise to be. I remember going to Tucson, Arizona for one of your retreats and arriving in the hotel, and literally within the first half hour, 11 strangers had come up to me and told me I had to go to Sedona. So wow. I went with your other client, Patricia.
Yes.
And we had such a magical time. And so, yeah, I personally have Darla to thank for a lot of adventures, a lot of travel. And I'm excited.
I thought you would say New Orleans.
Oh, New Orleans was amazing. Yes, that was amazing. We got to do a self-expression. What's it called when you go through the street? Parade. Yes. Yeah. I remember I was wearing like a tiny bright blue glittery jumpsuit, and we danced through the streets and we all had wands. Yeah, that was
the beginning of magic, Kate.
Tell me more.
Well, that was prior to starting to talk about magic, which we're going to talk about today. You know, in my book that I wrote last year, I started using this concept of magic.
Yeah.
We did a live event, which we're doing again coming up, so we'll talk about that. But sure. In the gift box, I sent magic wands, the gift box for the event. And I exactly that parade was the first time we had ever brought wands in.
So I did not realize that this wand was a continuation of that one.
I mean, it's just occurring to me now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, the bringing in of the wands and the magic. I love this. And I use the word magic a lot. It's probably one of my all-time favorite words. But tell me what you mean when you use it in the sourced world. So Darla is the founder of Sourced.
Yeah. So for me, our magic, we call it the sourced magic, right? And we have a whole way of distinguishing it. But you know, there's the magic that we experience when we're in the world of manifesting, right? And you set your intention and something happens, and it, you know, without your work. What I'm referring to when I think about magic, it's how does source work with and through you,
Mm.
And specifically, I work with transformational leaders, as do you, right? People who are out there working with clients, helping them create new awareness
Yeah.
that changes how they show up and interact with life.
Yeah.
So I know that's what you do with your people. Anyone who's here gets that. And so our magic is the way we do that.
Mm.
And, you know, I was just talking about this in our certification that we get information as the space holder, right? The person who's facilitating the transformation, holding the container, holding the space. The more connected we are to source, first of all, the more we'll be living our divine purpose here, right? And it just becomes clear and we're not fuzzy about that.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have both had times in our lives where we've been fuzzy about that.
Fuzzy times. Oh, yes.
God, what am I meant to do with my life? So that's amazing. But it also makes you a better facilitator when you're really clear and tuned into source. So I don't know about you, Kate, but gosh, it's been a lot of years now. When I went to coaching school, you know, it was very much, how do you ask? And my coaching school was amazing. It was all about energy, but it was, how do you ask the questions to pull the information out of the client? Which is great. But what about what we just know? And we just know that we know. Right. And where does that come in to the container and the conversation? What we know as the facilitator, and then what the client actually knows, that's not going to be accessed by a logical question.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the magic.
I love that description of the magic. Thank you for that. And I know that you have in your book, which I have right here, Shift the Field.
Hey, I was thinking I didn't have a copy at my desk.
I have it, and I love how your wall fits in with the color scheme. That's beautiful. In your book, you have a whole section on identifying your unique magic. And I know I introduced you and you use this phrase yourself as a recovering engineer. And I think there's such a gift in that background you have as an engineer to be able to break down and see how the different components work together. And that's what you have done with magic, and you've done it for individuals, and you've identified different types or ways in to connect with source. And so first of all, before we go into that, why is that important to identify the different magics?
So, you know, if I think back, and, you know, I'd love to have a conversation about my magic, how it works, your magic, how it works, because that makes it super fun and interesting. And when I think back to when I was starting my business or getting ready to start my business, and I had this awareness, like, gosh, I really know how to make connections and put the pieces together, right? Like just, and now I know, it's almost like I see these webs, right, that are connecting different things, and they light up when it's like, ooh, someone needs to know this, or this, you know, people don't see this, you see this, you got to talk about it. Well, way back when, I didn't have a lot of awareness of that. And it was like, I think I'm really good at making connections, right? Like maybe I would make a good coach. Like maybe I'd be good at this. I don't know, you know, and there's a lot of that doubt and hesitancy. And the question of, is it valuable, right? Is this actually something that I can make a business on? Does anybody care? Is it helpful? And so the goal of kind of distinguishing these magics and making them tangible is, and that when I call recognition magic, is that someone can say, oh, this is a real thing. It is valuable. It will help people. And then the goal is not to put someone in a box like this is your magic, but it's really to give permission to lean into it and say, oh, if that really is happening, right? If I really am seeing things that other people aren't seeing, you know, then how do I amplify that? How do I have more of that? And I'm guessing everybody can relate to some form of I feel like I'm getting knowings. I feel like even though everything I'm learning is telling me to do this, I feel really called to do that. And
Yeah.
you have, rebels in your community.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then there's that place of self-doubt. I know I had that a lot. Well, my coach says this, but I feel this. So what my solution was, I did everything. And then I found that the things that I really felt, intuitively pulled to were the things that were most successful.
Yes, I love that. What a journey of realizations, and then what a gift to turn all of those realizations and recognitions, right, which is your specific magic, into learnings for others coming along that path of absolutely. I really resonate, and I know I've heard it in my community so many times, that feeling of I have a knowing, or I have a seeing, I have a feeling, and it feels different, like different from the norm, different from the mainstream, different from what my trainers, my teachers have been telling me. Even just yesterday, I had a session with a client where she was feeling closed to receiving clients, and wasn't doing much marketing because of that, which makes a lot of sense, right? And we found that her way through was to turn it into an adventure of what are all the ways I've been told not to market. All the ways that my natural instincts, my natural tendencies have been shut down and told that they're wrong.
Yeah.
Because that all those no's and all the her allowing of those no's had built up this doubt.
Yes.
So suddenly now marketing becomes for her this grand adventure of how do I break free and flip all those no's into this feels right to me, so I'm doing it.
Yes, exactly. So we're about giving permission, and also like learning how to then recognize it before you dismiss
Exactly.
it, right?
Yeah.
So in that moment when someone's saying, don't do this, and we're saying, but I want to do that, that we're able to pause and go, okay, what does my inner knowing know about this?
Yeah.
Before we go far down the path.
Yeah.
And I tell the story of when I started Sourced, and as my company was Aligned Entrepreneurs, and I developed Retreat and Grow Rich, which was my first book. So I was teaching people how to host retreats up until the pandemic. But this work of being sourced was actually kind of percolating for a few years when I had hosted an event, because in my mind, like that's what I had to do. Even though I had a profitable business hosting intimate retreats, you've been on quite a few, like it was so fun and alive. And then it's like, but you have to do a big event because that's what you do if you're successful.
Yeah.
And so, I kept adding this extra work to my plate. And then there was a kind of a culmination where I felt like, I really don't want to do this. It wasn't going well financially for this particular event. And I was very, very stressed. And that's when I committed to actually listening to myself. Because I think you've probably heard this story. I was on the phone with someone and I said, gosh, if it weren't for this stupid event, my life would be so easy right now.
Yeah.
And really following my magic is easy.
It's so easy. Yes.
And when I get, someone else's voice in my head that says I should do or shouldn't do, then life gets complicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a clear path to have, right? To know when I follow my magic, it's easy. When life is complicated, I know that's a sign I've let someone else's opinion, someone else's way, which may be right for them, come in to my way.
And we can always get back and we can't screw it up. So that's pretty amazing.
That is pretty amazing. I love that. And I'm going to ask you, for an overview for everyone listening to take us through a kind of high level, of course, of the different types of magic. But, first you had asked to speak about my magic as well. Yeah. So yours, and I know we each have more than one, right? But your primary is recognition. My primary is expression. magic.
Mhm.
And you know, discovering this, and Darla has a quiz where you can find out your magic, was not a surprise, but it was affirmation of yes,
Yes.
that is your unique magic, your specific magic. And I looked back on those moments in my life where I'd had experiences of knowing, right, or of being very powerfully creative in the moment, and it was always connected to expression. I remember because my beginnings were as an energy healer, right, as a like a hands-on, you know,
Mm.
client on the
Right.
table energy healer, and I started hearing things, and seeing things, hearing and seeing. And the breakthrough came when I started saying them out loud because they
Mm.
made no sense to me. Right. Then I'd be, and I could also, because I do have all of the magics, and this will make sense in a moment when Darla talks through them. So I could also feel the energy flow and the energy block. So I'd be intuitively guided. Your hands need to go here, your hands need to clear this, your hands need to soothe this. But what I started getting was visions and words that made no sense. And it was when I allowed myself to just say, this is what I'm seeing, or this is what I'm hearing, with no interpretation added on of
Right.
that huge breakthroughs and
Mm.
healings started happening, because of course it made sense to the person. They felt the importance of this. And even just the other day, I was having doing a one-on-one session with a client, and there was one word. It's always here. Like I always hear it here, just behind my right
Mm.
ear. And there's such
Mm.
such an important piece around timing as well, because I was hearing it the entire call, but then there was one moment when it was, okay, it's now. And I shared this word with her as a way for her to name her purpose, like why she's here on this planet. And her hearing me express that was so moving in that moment that she cried.
Mm.
And it was one word.
Yeah.
You know, I could so easily have just been like, that's not really connected to what we're talking about.
Right.
But it
I
was.
love that.
So it's that that affirmation of that gift has allowed me to step even deeper into trusting those moments and to express what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing, and the value in that for the other, even if I don't understand, especially.
Right. So you had to learn to trust that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially when something is so out of left field,
Yeah.
it might sound crazy, right? What are they going to think about me?
Yeah.
If I just put this out there? And I'm just like so delighted to hear this story, because that's why I like to see and name and claim the things that are your way of connecting with the unseen, right? Like source, God, the universe, however you want to think about it, the collective consciousness wants to raise the consciousness of the planet through you, wants to bring more life and more light to the world through you. And so we can trust that. That is where we're moving to when we listen to our magic.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking, you've developed that over time, and that shows up in your one-on-one work, but it's also really great to have your marketing include the expression.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll speak to what we can talk about: expression and recognition, because those are our first primary.
Yeah.
By the way, there's, you know, this is a developing science, this part I'm about to say, which is, you know, there's the part we honed as a kid, because, you know, in my example of recognition, I grew up with an alcoholic in the house. And so I was constantly being attentive to the signs of what was going on in the world around me. So I could adjust my behavior accordingly. And so recognition is really common in that, right? So like just really being tuned into those things without even awareness. And then there's the one you hid, which is like, either this is so weird that nobody can, like, I got to shut it down. Maybe, you know, a child sees spirits or hears messages, right? And tells their parent, and their parent says, that's crazy, right? Or don't do that. Their parent gets scared or whatever it may be, and shuts them down. And so we hide it. And mine that I hid is sensation, which is like feeling in the body what people are feeling. Whether it's emotions or physical symptoms. And I think, you know, this is my take on it, is it was so overwhelming for me, all the things that I felt growing up. There was so much intensity of emotion that I really feel I just numbed that out, you know? So for people, when they're thinking about their magic, and now I use it in sessions, in fact, I do a specific session with each client when we start that's all about tuning into the body. And really seeing what their body is saying, what I'm picking up. And I give lots of space for that, for me to actually feel into what I'm picking up from their physical energy field. Where, you know, I did, my first training was Reiki, Kate, but I didn't start as an energy healer, right? So that was like so weird to me to develop that. So I want to come back to, you know, the expression and the recognition, and just to think about how does that influence your marketing? And I don't want to go through, you know, there's 6 types, and I don't necessarily want to go through all, because I think that's kind of overwhelming for people. But let's pull some threads out. So the expression, if you know, I think of this as channeling. You know, and I love what you said. You said you hear it and you share it with no interpretation added on. That's how you said it. Like that is expression, right? It's just coming through you. Knowing that you have that and honoring it, how would that show up in marketing?
Well, things like this, right? Having conversations that I go into with an idea of what it is we're going to talk about, but in no way a fixed script or you know, questions like that. I'm like, we have to get through these. You know, I just had a conversation with Bo Huntress, who is a beautiful singer. We knew she was going to sing some songs at one point. We really, all we knew was that we were going to talk about creativity and sex for highly sensitive people. So trusting myself to go into these conversations, listening, like paying attention to the energy flow, and then bringing my voice, my expression to either deepen or you know, navigate the conversation. So that is one for sure, is deliberately holding these types of conversations as part of my, like, the rhythm of my nurturing piece of marketing. And also doing,
I want to highlight for people, if they have this, if, you know, maybe you took a class, maybe you host a podcast and you took a class, and it's like, have the 6 questions you ask everybody, right? And that's like, can be a piece of advice that may not be fun for an expression magician. It may just, you know, you made time out on that because it just feels boring. And then I got this vision, Kate, of you just on stage, you know, and I've experienced you on stage and your presence. And I, you know, what is it like if you're on stage trying to say the same thing versus being on stage, having an intention, knowing, you know, what you want for the audience, but like it's coming through you, right? So my recognition is like seeing the way the energy is moving through you out into the audience.
It's so much more potent and alive, and I feel so connected in those moments. Honestly, like, I do everything else I do I do it for those moments, for that feeling of I'm literally plugged in and wisdom is flowing through me, and I didn't even know I knew this, and I'm saying it out loud in front of loads of people. Like there's nothing more exciting or scary, right? It's absolutely this. It's both. What
let's talk about that.
The scary,
the
scary and the exciting, because I don't know what's going to come out, right? I don't know. And I think there's this, I don't even know if it's a balance or just a necessary part of the journey. But like I don't, and I wouldn't recommend going from never having done a talk, for example, to standing on a stage in front of thousands expecting to channel. It is an incremental journey, and it requires, like anything that you want to be expert at, it requires so much attention given to it. So, you know, I watch so many TED Talks and other forms of talks, and I'm looking for where is the aliveness and why, and what happened in that moment, and where am I as a listener bored, and why, and what happened in that moment. And like I'm constantly working on my craft, because that's what it feels to me is a craft, and that really specific, quite witchy word, you know, of the craft. And I'm not very good with my hands. Like I don't weave, I don't knit, I don't garden, you know, I don't, but with my voice, I can craft. I can craft stories, and I can craft other people's stories. But yeah, all crafts take refinement, you know, they take work. So the reason why I said I'm not sure if it's a balance or not, I think it just has to be both, is there's an element of it that is, you got to work this, right? You've got to, if this is your magic, being able to express in the moment, then go and be obsessed with everything there is to learn about speaking, about crafting a good talk, all of the structure and the strategy, so that then I can go and I can be completely free in the moment, knowing I have these like places to land on.
I would add, Kate, when I'm hearing you talk about practicing your craft, you know, I think that the watching the TED Talks and where's the aliveness, I feel like that's a recognition, right? Like, and I think part of what, and this is everyone listening, you likely have you're multi-magical, right? You have a couple that are your strengths, probably the one you honed, the one you hid. And when you put them together, it's like, oh, and that's Kate, right? So you have this ability to show up and be in the moment and speak wisdom within this container, but you also have the ability to like help someone with their story, for example, to make it really like make it really clear, and you know, it's emotional, it's connected, but it's also very clear.
Yes.
And so you're bringing those together. And when I think about how you practice your craft with expression, it started when you were doing energy healing and you would hear the word and you would say it. And then when you're doing coaching and you would hear the word and you would, right? It's like, or, you know, this is one of my all-time favorite reasons I advocate for people hosting retreats is you have an intimate group. Kate, we both appreciate human design, right?
Yes,
so when you have a group, you're like lit up, right? When you're in the presence of other people, different parts of you are activated.
Yeah.
When you're in an intimate retreat, if people who came for your wisdom, it's a really great container for you as the host to be able to hone your magic.
Yeah.
And this is really one of the reasons I'm so passionate about it. So, you know, you were honing it in your energy work, you were honing it on stage, I'm sure, when you were performing as a clown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
and then in your one-on-one, and then in retreats. And so that's where you get the confidence to actually allow the wisdom to come through in a bigger group.
Yeah.
Because you know it's count onable, you know people are receiving from it,
Yeah.
you're getting that feedback along the way. And I believe what can be scary, I'm curious your thought about expression magic, is you really aren't in control of what's coming out of your mouth. So it's like, oh, where is this going to lead us?
Yeah.
Most of us like control a lot.
And finding myself sometimes saying things out loud that I didn't know I felt so strongly about, or I didn't even know I believed. And it's taken the group, like the energetic presence of a group, to call that truth out.
Yes.
And so having the experience of admitting something out loud for the first time for myself in front of other people,
right,
can be quite scary. And I know that's something you talk about yourself, like transforming out loud, and how that's a huge part of your mission.
Right.
So that's something
because the sourced magic is coming from source. You as the recipient are in a sourced energy, right? In my book, I talk about default energy and sourced energy and how we help our clients shift into sourced energy. And when we're in that, we're fully in the present moment.
Yeah.
And so the moment is so potent, because not only are we in the present moment, but the room is in the present moment.
Yeah.
And you can feel that, right? And so, you know, the model of I'm a speaker, I already know everything, I have this figured out, and I'm going to tell it to you, right? Now, you know, there's a lot of gray areas, and there's a lot of areas in between. And
absolutely,
speaking.
yeah.
But in the realm of transformation, as the facilitator, you're on the journey too, right? We are energetically connected. Your transformation is mine, my transformation is yours. And when we can really understand that energetic, then we can trust it more. Yeah.
I love that so much. And listening to you, I love this discussion around what you hid, what you honed. For me, I wonder if it was, I'll have to look at all of them, but I feel like I both hid and honed expression magic. I definitely did not grow up trusting my voice. You know, that's been my greatest struggle, which is what I now help other people do with, of course, was trusting my own voice, because I grew up, you know, around this family table where logic and reason was absolutely what was valued. And although my mum is incredibly intuitive, like literally one of the wisest witches I know, she knows that, but she doesn't value it. Or she didn't when I was a teenager. Whereas my dad, who's like very intellectual, very well read, you know, just always knows what's going on in the world and has his opinion on it, like reads the Times, you know, his voice, very masculine, like lovely man, right? Nothing is wrong. But what it meant was that I was growing up in this, you know, family dinner scenario where the voice of fact-backed opinions, ration, not emotion, not intuition, was what was valued, and was what always got the final say in the conversation. And I used to sit at the dinner table and cry because I knew I didn't agree with what was being said, and I didn't know how to say what I did think or feel. And the pain of that was, for me at that time, just too overwhelming. And I just used to sit there and cry. So I think I hid and honed.
Well, yeah, I hear a couple of things possible in there too. So we'll bring in a couple other magics.
Right.
There's vibration. So that is sensing the energy of something.
Yeah.
So, you know, and vibration and sensation, the one where you feel it in your body, it might have been that too, Kate. they can go together, but a lot of times by some vibration people feel the vibration in their body. Some almost see the vibration, right? Like see it as energy waves, or they hear the vibration of the tone of the words, right? And it's like a response to that. So it could be vibrationally the conversation wasn't aligned for your soul. And how would you have words for that?
Right. Yeah. I think
especially as a kid, right? Like this whatever you're saying, it just doesn't align for me, right? As an adult, we can do that. We can just be like, okay, I hear you, it's logical, whatever. It doesn't click for me. You know?
Not true for me. Yeah. I mean, I don't think I had the word align in my vocabulary at 15. Yeah. I hope teenagers now do. Let's make sure they do. I think I probably honed vibration magic. That makes sense, because I was the kid in the playground teaching my friends how to feel the energy of things.
Wow.
I was like, come on, guys.
I didn't know that.
You can feel it.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I think that, yes, that makes sense. That's the one I honed. And it makes sense why I stepped fairly easily into being an energy healer, because although I trained in Reiki, even during my course, I remember the very first practice client, my hand started being guided by unseen supportive forces. And I remember just kind of glancing over to my teacher, who was sat in the corner, and he just kind of nodded, like, follow it, trust it. And I did. So I've never followed the rules of Reiki. It's just that Reiki was my way in to a deeper trusting of my ability to feel energy.
Yeah. So I feel like I want to go back to thinking about marketing again.
Yes, do it.
And when we think about how does this influence that, right? Because you're brilliant at helping your people with marketing. For me, I've been saying so much lately, like your model, your business model, which includes how you market, when, where, and how you show up, and your magic are not separate.
Yes.
And for me, kind of growing up in this world, like I went to coaching school, I had my little certificate, but I had very little confidence in, is this valuable?
Yeah.
And I didn't know how to run a business. And so I got into business masterminds and like learning from other people. And in those spaces, there was never any conversation about, are you actually good at what you do?
Right. Yeah.
And, I felt like I had a knowing about my recognition magic. I didn't call it that. And I hadn't fully owned it for sure, but I had like a sense of it. And so I felt like, yeah, I'm good at what I do. Like, this is what I'm meant to do. It took me a long time to choose it. Like, I know this is the work for me. But so much of it was done separate, right? Like, here's the marketing strategy to go do, never mind, like for example, have your perfect signature speech where, if you walk, when you say these words, you walk from here to here, right? Like, well, as a recognition magic or as a expression magic, that's kind of counter to how you're designed. So to me, they have to go together, right? Where we're honoring our magic, how we're designed, how we work with clients, and designing according to that versus, just everybody do it this way. And even if everybody ends up doing it the same way, we have to be in ownership of why we're doing it that way, right? It has to feel good and right in our soul. So I'm thinking about the vibration, for example, and you around the dinner table and having this experience of feeling like that, to me may mean interaction is really good for you. So as an example, it could go either way, but let's say you're doing a webinar.
Yeah.
Right. You could say, okay, I'm going to meditate, dance, move, whatever it is to get in my vibration. And I'm going to put out this vibration. Shoop.
Yeah.
Ashley on my team calls it the Care Bear stare.
I love that.
People get in it and they just get it, right? They just
Yeah.
elevate their energy. So that's one possibility if you're speaking to a big group, right? It's like blinders,
Yeah.
project, you know, and this is with intention. If you have a small group, you may, as a vibration, you may want to hear from people.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, this is the vibration of this audience.
Yes.
And here's how I'm going to up level it, right?
Yeah.
And if for people who are vibration magicians, you kind of know what I'm saying, even though like it's not like a logical ABCD, it's like a way that you work that's beyond description. Source is helping you to transmute that vibration.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that description of it. And it's those kinds of subtleties that I absolutely love getting into, both for myself and my clients. Like, where does it make sense to open up the questions right at the very beginning? Because then you get to feel what's in the room. Yes. And you trust yourself enough that you can then tweak or even possibly radically recreate your content based on what you just heard, right? Yeah. Or does it make sense for you to turn up, deliver what you've planned, and open up for questions at the end, or not at all, right? Some people won't even do that. So yeah, I love that, actually, that piece in terms of the design of a flow of something has to be based on how we're designed.
Yes.
First.
Yeah, and then we are in ownership of it.
Yeah.
And this is, right, energy first. When we are in ownership of how we show up, we're I don't want to say in control. What's the word I'm looking for? We're setting the energetic space, right? Like we're pre-deciding how it's going to go in this particular way.
Yeah.
And it matters. It really, really matters.
Yeah. If you want to turn up as the fullest magical version of you, it really matters.
Yeah, you're connecting with the right soul clients. And I know that's something that you talk about, Kate.
Yeah, I mean, from where I'm standing, that is the difference that makes the difference, right? Clients coming in the door who are just right for you and the point of the journey, the point of the transformational journey that you're at.
Yes.
And what that means is then my experience of it is you get to give your magic. And we've already talked about how that is easy. It's so easy. You get to give what feels ridiculously easy to you. And then you get to watch as just transformation like ripples through your clients.
Yes.
It's exquisite.
Like what better job?
There isn't one.
So this is making me feel like I'd like to talk about where do we give our magic?
I love that. Yes.
And I'm really excited to get your take on this, Kate. A couple of things that I see that I like to kind of bring forward are sometimes people might, I won't say we, sometimes people might get an inner knowing about someone else, right?
Yeah.
You meet someone, you're interacting with them, maybe they're on your list, they do a free session, whatever. You may get an inner knowing, and the tendency might be to tell the person, I got this and this and this and this, right? And it's coming from this place of proving your value, proving your worth, or, there's an art to this, right? To everything in divine order. I don't want to say right order, but there's an art to knowing the order of things. And I remember I sprained my ankle at an event once. It was definitely a message from the universe. Very interesting. But they gave me a wheelchair. So I'm in a wheelchair and I have my ankle up, and I was a speaker and a sponsor.
Amazing.
And the number of people that came up right into my space and gave me
Oh,
advice, gave like
no.
unsolicited energy
Oh,
healing,
oh,
oils, and drugs, and it was just unreal, right? So
wow.
we don't want to be that person who's like giving our it could like it might be really, really beautiful what you're wanting to offer me, but consent,
Yeah.
commitment, right? So I talk about it as commitment as the first stage. So the more appropriate would be to connect with me and find out where I'm at and what my commitment is in the matter. What is it that I'm looking for? What, and then offer, oh, hey, I would have a solution, would you like to hear, or let me know if here's where you can find me. And so, but I see this a lot. And even, I don't find anything wrong with this business model. People have intuitive readings, right? And that's what they offer. Nothing wrong with that as a business model, if that's what you want to offer, right? Like I'm going to connect, give, go, right?
Yeah.
That could be a very fabulous light business model. It's not a transformational business model. So if you're wanting to hold someone in their transformation, just giving them, right? And then they don't know, were they actually committed to receiving that information?
Yeah.
What's their bigger picture of what they're wanting to achieve that made them come to you? Can you support them in actually integrating what they learn?
Yeah.
And so the people that work, with us at Source, they want to market, sell, and deliver deep transformation with their unique magic. And so, just kind of like, oh, I'm just going to meet you and give you an intuitive reading isn't the container for that, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And it leads into, and I'd love you to talk to us about what you call the anatomy of a transformation, because this piece for me landed so deeply and has changed so much about the way I work and also the way I transform, because I absolutely was an aha addict. And when I learned this piece, I realized that, and I realized that wasn't transformation. And now when I see it out there, like I'll see, those posts that go out, and then people underneath are like, oh my God, mind blown, and all this kind of very high, like peak energy. Whoa, like, okay. And that's great. Like, and maybe the person putting that out is fully in integrity and alignment for their magic, right? And their expression of it. And that isn't how we transform. And jumping from one insight to the next insight and I'm like this because of this, and oh my God, this is why this isn't transformation. So talk to us about the anatomy of a transformation.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, when someone shares a deep, like I'm a big fan of transforming out loud, right? And sharing the journey. But I think you're referring to when you see someone share, this happened and that, and then it's another one and another one. And it's like, ooh, what you couldn't possibly be integrating all of that, right? You've got to be so ungrounded.
Yeah.
So the anatomy of a transformation, I developed this when I was teaching retreat leaders, and I wanted to find a way, I'm thinking back, I'm like, dang, I'm glad I did that. I just had this realization of like, wow, how did I figure out how to teach? Came through, right? But I wanted people to understand the role that their retreat played in the big picture of transformation. I was teaching people retreats, and there's all kinds of retreats. There's lots of retreats that are like, let's get an aha about this, that, and the other, right? But it's not grounded in us actually implementing this in our life. And so the anatomy of a transformation is a way to think about and hold how transformation works that will help you design your programs in alignment with how transformation works. And I'll go really quick here. And Kate, I know you're an affiliate for our event coming up. We go deep in for 3 days into mastery of this in Shift the Field Live, which is in a month.
Yes.
And it's
Get
on Zoom.
that.
Yes.
Get
Yes.
that.
So I'll do short version. This is what the book is based on and what the event is based on. Is there are 3 stages of transformation. Commitment. Okay, this has to do with exploring what does your client really want? Where are they now? Right? I call it desire discomfort.
Mm.
And this is about helping them determine that they're committed to transformation.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just like, oh, I want to double my business. Okay, that could be a commitment, but it's, I want to double my business and I'm willing to see I go like this. It's funny that your voice
Yeah,
is,
right. Yeah.
I go like this, to see what's hidden from your view.
Mm.
So that commitment to actually be willing to see the truth that we haven't been willing to see before, that once we see it, it's going to allow us to double our business.
Yes.
So that's really what we're exploring in the commitment phase. So I say all of your marketing and sales really should be in the commitment stage.
Yeah.
And so here's, again, just like people coming up to me trying to heal my ankle at an event in 5 minutes in the hallway. In marketing, we try to fire hose, right? Or sound smart, or give this amazingly brilliant answer that no one's ever thought of.
Mm.
And what's more effective is to actually talk about, what do you really want? Where are you now? What's the cost of this? And how willing are you to see the truth? There's a truth you're not seeing, and how willing are you, right? Like we should all of us transformational people should be doing some version of similar marketing.
Absolutely.
Right? You can put whatever words on it that you want, but ultimately in your sales webinar, that's what you want people to be exploring.
Yeah.
Tuning in, right? Like we'll just ask you right now, what's it been costing you, people who are watching, not own your magic, to not value it, to be giving it out willy-nilly and not know where to put it, right? Like, what is it costing you?
Yeah.
And if coming to Shift the Field Live, I'm doing this very meta, right? If coming to Shift the Field Live could actually shift that for you, what would that be worth to you?
Mm.
Right? Like that's the conversation to be having up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I want to pause there because I really want to highlight how this is so different, because some of it is similar to classic traditional marketing, right? Talking about, the towards and the away from, the pleasure, the pain, right? Desire, discomfort. The bit that's really, really different is the overt commitment you're requiring them to have to the inner work it takes.
yes.
Not just, I'm committed to doubling my business. Yeah, I don't care how you do it. Yeah, I don't care what the process is. Tell me, this is what the traditional marketing teaches is sell the result.
Them what you want, give them what they need.
Yes, which is
without
so patronizing.
Without their consent.
Yeah, as if they're idiots that don't see this.
Yeah.
It's so patronizing. I hate it.
Yeah.
It's also,
and our market is so much more sophisticated now.
Exactly.
Like and I talk about this too, Kate, is like, it used to be, don't talk about the how, right? You get people from here to here and you don't talk about how, they don't care. And there's truth to that, but we're more sophisticated now.
Yeah.
And I want to know that you get words in your ear. Like, I want access to that. Yeah. I want to know, can I get words in my ear? Like, we're in a different space now.
We so are. And in terms of attracting right clients, right? And I do use the word right for that because it's like a fit, and I think about it like, I'm adventuring into the world of dating right now. And there are people who aren't wrong. They're not wrong people, but they're not my right fit.
Right.
And it's the same with clients. There are people who are your right fit, and they are, if you do deep transformational work, then your right fit clients are sophisticated enough to want to hear about that and to want to feel at least a taste of how it's going to feel to be in your presence, to be inside your containers, to be in your courses. I would not step into a program with someone who I hadn't had the experience of getting to feel the real them and how it might feel to kind of become closer to them and receive their magic. I simply wouldn't. Like, I would not now, 20 years in to my personal development journey, I would not buy something solely based on a result-based outcome.
Right. And I would go, the opposite way. Your client, you don't want to say yes to a client who says, I want to double my business, but I don't want to look over here.
Yes.
Right. Because, and this is, again, part of why we go to honoring your magic. When you are magical, whether you have honed it or not, you're putting that out, right? Like, people sense, feel that.
Yeah.
And so the people that are going to come and say, I want to double my business, they need transformation. They need to go, oh, that's why they're coming to you. They don't even know it, but that's why they're coming to you.
Yeah.
And I would say, Kate, the people who chose to go to you as an energy healer knew you had more at some level, right? Their soul knew there was more than the standard energy healer.
Yeah.
And so when we're not responsible for our magic, right? And this is where it's like, you don't want to welcome in a client who doesn't want to do this work, who doesn't want to say, what's my truth? Because you're going to be seeing their truth. Their truth is going to be rah, 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 and they're going to be in resistance to it. And it's going to be like this. And it's like, there's plenty of people that want your magic. We don't need to put ourselves in that situation. And so that's where the commitment comes in. I'm going to go quickly, Kate.
Carry on. Yes, you go.
Sourced experience. This is where the transformation happens. I say it's release, receive, rise. And again, we go deep into what that means: releasing control, receiving truth, rising in a new energy. And this receiving truth part is the very center of the anatomy. That's where the magic is most needed, most potent, right? That's where it's like the word comes in. The truth, right? And there's nuances around truth. There's truth that we thought was true, and then there's truth that's soul true, right? And so we work with those two
very
truths.
True.
Yeah, very true. So that's what I call the sourced experience. Now, someone can have a sourced experience out in their life, or they can have it in a beautiful container where it's gentle and it's showing up, right on time, versus out in life. Sometimes we have to have dramatic things happen to get our attention, right? Yeah. And I've had both, and no judgment about that, but I prefer the gentle. Yeah. And then the third stage is integration. And this is where we take our new truth, our new sourced energy, and we go live it in our life. Yeah. And all that means, it means a lot. Like, what I realized in writing the book, Kate, is transformational opportunities, right? Opportunities to see new truth are actually all around us. Yes. But someone who can actually hold you in your sourced energy while you integrate, right? Help you have the conversation with your mom or your partner, or raise your rates and receive whatever objections you get, or, zig when other people are zagging, but it's right. Like, someone who can help hold you in that integration is priceless. So we don't want to miss that stage. And a lot of times as transformational leaders, we're obsessed with the fun of the aha. Oh, look how smart I am. I saw that pattern. Ew. And it's like, great. But, we have to go act on it. Yes.
And implement it so it actually changes our experience of everyday life.
Exactly.
Yes. Yes. Tell me how your life is different. That is what I want to know to people who are, offering transformation.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I'm not in the Facebook group right now. I'm not watching comments. If people have comments or questions,
yes,
I will check in here. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I would love to hear kind of what's present for people. And I would love to just kind of have you feel into knowing your magic, putting it in the right place, right? Knowing what to give in your marketing, in your sales, knowing what to hold as a sacred invitation into the work with you, understanding which parts of what you do, because this is where we can get hung up, is, you have a lot of different experiences, a lot of different wisdom, as Kate helps you with, different parts of your story that are guiding you, knowing where to put it, right? And like literally in the structure of your business model, if you teach 6 things that are so important to you, 6 things that have changed your life, do you really want to put all 6 things in someone's first experience with you? Or is there actually one that you would lead with, and then they get the 6 later on the other side of their transformation when they're in a different energy? Right. So someone's coming in, they're in a default energy, they're maybe resisting things, or they can only hear it through a certain filter.
Right.
And you're teaching, you're giving them all you got, right? You're like, and this, and that, and this, and that. It can only integrate so much if they're in a default, right? They're not able to actually receive it because it's not fitting with their worldview.
Yeah.
But when they shift their energy and they're connected to their soul, then they can actually hear it, right? So we can stop giving our substance away to people who can't receive it. So I would encourage people to kind of tune into, is that happening? Are you doing that?
Yeah. And I think that's such a great question that you asked earlier, like, what's the cost of giving your magic away for free, or giving it, all in one go to people who aren't ready? Just what's the cost of giving your magic away at the wrong time to the wrong people, or in the wrong place in your business?
And not being in ownership of, hey, this is how I work. When you meet someone who's just like, this is how I work, you feel that.
You really do, without the added on bits of like, it's a bit weird, but just this is how I work. It's really it's a relief, isn't it, to hear people speak like that. There are some beautiful comments. I'm just going to share a few, and then I'm going to ask you to let people know a bit more about the event, Shift the Field, if that's okay. And Megan, can you please pop my affiliate link for Shift the Field in the event? So in the comments. So if you do choose to attend Darla's event through my link, I will receive a thank you. And as you all hopefully already know, I only recommend work that I have actually experienced myself, that has changed my life in some way, and then I can, like, 2 hands on my heart, vouch for as being extremely high quality. I have very high standards. Let's put it like that. So Val is saying, hi Val, and hi Patricia. Oh, so lovely to have you here with us. Patricia is Darla's client that I went to Sedona with.
Amazing. Hi Patricia.
Patricia's here with us. I love that. Val is saying, she's quoting you, Darla, they're so new. I love that. I saw you, Kate, at an event I attended, and you were crewing for the event. I never spoke with you that day, but I just remember glancing over you and hearing, I'm going to work with her one day. That is so cool. I did not know that, Val.
Amazing. Well, and how amazing when you show up, right, in your potency, people just recognize it.
Yeah.
So much is happening unspoken.
So much.
I think we have to speak so much.
Speaking of that, we have just gone over the hour, so I want to honor your time, Darla, and the time of our listeners. So why would someone who has magic, has been hiding part of their magic, has been giving part of their magics away for free, or, you know, really desperately wanting to have their magic valued, and therefore perhaps giving it at the wrong moments without the commitment piece first, why would they benefit from attending Shift the Field Live?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the things that we've talked about today, if it's resonating for you, you know, first and foremost, trust your inner knowing. If you feel drawn to come spend 3 days with myself and my team and amazing humans like Kate who study transformation and are coming to this event, the community is amazing. Day one is all about the anatomy of a transformation. So we look at, you know, we've talked about energy. We go deep into the default energy versus the sourced energy. How do you recognize it in your clients? So again, it's very focused with the filter. This is the magic, right, Kate? We're focused with the filter of you and how you show up with your clients, how your clients show up with you, and how you facilitate transformation in the world. And you'll get your own transformation through the way we design the event, right? So you're going to see something that you haven't seen before and go, whoa, oh, that's how I'm showing up in this area. Okay. So it's designed in that way. But day one, we're looking at the anatomy of a transformation. How does it work? How are you using it in your business? Maybe without even knowing. Where are the areas you could adjust things in your business to be supportive of how transformation is actually working in your client's life, like to make it easier. Day two, we're talking about the vibration of your business. So vibration magicians will love this, but any business, our business has a vibration, and there is the one that's most aligned with your soul at this time. And then there's the one that's aligned with the shoulds and the proving and the how, you know, have to and must. And so that's day two. We're really going to distinguish that. We're going to look at the way you tell your story in your business and what are you inviting people into vibrationally. And it's not story work in the depth that you do, but we're really going to bring a new layer of how you're looking at your story. Day three is all about commitment. And how do you cultivate commitment for transformation? Like, how do you actually help your client to go, okay, I don't need to know what this is, but I'm willing, I'm telling you, I'm willing to see it. So we're doing that. So that's marketing, sales, but really from this place of commitment. The other thing I want to say is everybody takes the magic quiz before, and we have some ways of helping you see how you access your magic that we're going to work with. And then we go into breakout groups by magic type. So from this was, you know, we're evolving the content every time, but the last event, we got so much feedback about how valuable it was to hear other people who kind of experience life in the same way. Talk about how they experience life, like how validating that is. So really that's also a piece.
Really validating. And will there be ones?
No, we got something else.
Okay, something else.
We have something else in store.
Something just as magic, I am sure.
Yes. It's a very, very themed. There is a gift box. Those of you over in the UK, I want to get your gift box to you. So if you're feeling pulled, put it on your calendar, get your registration in so we can send that in the post.
Yes, I really recommend it. And I agree, those breakout rooms, they were amazing. Just having person after person reflect my lived experience, and it just added on layer upon layer of validation and bringing it through into the real, right? This thing that is by its very nature intangible, invisible. It's so important. And so thank you, Darla, for it's so important to have these spaces where those of us who have access to these ways of knowing remember that it's real. So we can bring it through into the world at this time so direly in need of
Yeah.
all these different forms of magic that ultimately all create ripples of love, essentially, is the bottom line, isn't it?
Ooh, that might be the theme of our event. Amazing. Did that come in your ear?
Love, love, love.
Magic in action. Oh my gosh.
That's kind of cool. Ooh.
So cool. Yeah. I'd like to leave with one of my favorite quotes. I know you've heard it a lot. It's by a man named Kurt Wright. And he says in his book called Breaking the Rules, which we love, he says, a human being cannot accept a part of themselves that they haven't shared with another human being and had validated rather than violated.
Yeah.
And so if we think about our magic, you know, has your magic been violated in some way, dismissed, laughed at, ignored, you know, shut down? Validation, it's a part of the anatomy we'll get into, but validation clears the space, right, of all of that rejection or fear. It clears the space so then we can create from a blank space a new relationship with our magic.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's so important.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and that's a beautiful way to end. Thank you, Darla, and I look forward to seeing those of you that this is calling to at Shift the Field live.
Always so much fun to share space with you. You're amazing. Thank you for who you are in the world.
Thank you. I've had so much fun. I can't believe this is work. I mean, I can believe
right?
It's brilliant. I'm so grateful for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're watching, come play with us.
Yes, come play in the awesome space. All right, lots of love, everyone, and thanks again, Darla.
Thanks, Kate.
Bye for now.